Stop whatever you are doing right now. Put your phone down, close every other tab, turn the volume up, and listen. Because what you are about to hear could mark the exact moment the political landscape of America snaps into a new, dangerous trajectory. Tonight, Donald J. Trump, a man who has redefined controversy in the modern era, made a statement, a declaration, a challenge that has shaken Washington to its core, leaving aides, politicians, and the public scrambling for comprehension, grappling with disbelief, and questioning the very rules that hold the republic together. It began, as always, with a tweet. But not just any tweet. This one came at 8:17 p.m. Eastern, composed in all caps, a digital hammer aimed squarely at the pillars of accountability. "The system is broken," it read. "They cannot win. I will not let them. Watch and see. America will remember." Pause for a second. Let those words settle. This is not a rhetorical flourish. This is a former president, a man who once held the most powerful office on earth, openly defying investigations, openly challenging law enforcement, openly questioning the legitimacy of processes that have governed this nation for over 2 centuries. Inside the White House, or what remains of his operation, aides are scrambling. Sources tell us that senior advisors pleaded, begged even, for him to reconsider before hitting send. They warned him that the tone, the words, the implications could escalate tensions to a level that the country has not seen since the Civil War era. But their warnings fell on deaf ears. The tweet went live. Within minutes, the internet erupted, newsrooms lit up, Congress whispered in urgent, frantic tones. The nation suddenly felt smaller, narrower, and far more unstable than it had hours before. Because this is Trump at his most dangerous, not wielding policy, not making legislation, but commanding a narrative, shaping perception, redefining truth. Every word calculated to provoke, every sentence a spark, every punctuation mark a grenade. And tonight, it landed squarely on the institutions meant to restrain him. Federal agencies, state prosecutors, investigative journalists, even members of his own party, all of them caught in a ripple that grows exponentially with every retweet, every headline, every echo chamber amplification. And let's be clear, this is not merely political posturing. This is the opening salvo of a campaign to delegitimize oversight, to sow doubt, to create a world where accountability is optional and loyalty is mandatory. Law enforcement officials, normally cautious, measured, procedural, found themselves confronting something entirely different. A former president openly daring them to act, challenging the very mechanisms designed to uphold justice and setting a trap for hesitation. This is the moment when the spectacle of Trump crosses into perilous reality. Because it is not enough to read the words on a screen. One must understand the context, the timing, the calculated pressure. In the past 72 hours, multiple threads converged into a perfect storm. First, the Department of Justice has escalated investigations into Trump's financial dealings and election-related activities. Second, state prosecutors are intensifying their scrutiny, moving closer to charges that could be historic, monumental. Third, and perhaps most crucial, the political narrative in America is polarized to a level few have witnessed. The public is divided, the media amplified, and the party apparatus uncertain, leaving Trump a wide channel to dominate discourse, define reality, and frame the conversation on his own terms. And Trump, ever the strategist in his own mind, seized it. He didn't deliver a measured statement, a careful interview, or a written op-ed. No, he unleashed a full-throttle digital storm, combining threat, drama, and spectacle. It's what his advisors fear, what analysts study, what historians note. The former president as a force untethered from the traditional bounds of governance, reshaping consequences before anyone else can react. Within hours, reactions began to cascade. Republican leaders, some loyal, some wary, scrambled to issue statements that balanced defense with caution. Democrats, as expected, denounced the move as reckless, destabilizing, and dangerous. Law enforcement officials went into overdrive, reviewing legal avenues, considering every implication of a man who once controlled the levers of power, now challenging the system from the outside. And the public, polarized and electrified, took to social media, each side interpreting the same message through lenses shaped by ideology, fear, and loyalty. But here's the critical point. Trump's message was not just intended for the United States. It was global. Allies and adversaries alike, watching, reading, calculating. This is the man who once dominated international summits, who tested alliances, who shifted foreign policy with a single tweet. And now, even out of office, he wields influence in ways that can unsettle global confidence, impact financial markets, and recalibrate diplomacy. Because the message is clear, Trump acts not in isolation, not for commentary, but as a master of perception, shaping outcomes through audacity, intimidation, and spectacle. Let's consider the mechanics of what he did. Every word, every exclamation, every all-caps pronouncement serves multiple purposes. First, it rallies his base, creating loyalty through spectacle. Second, it intimidates opposition, signaling that traditional checks may not hold. Third, it tests the media, provoking coverage that amplifies the effect. Fourth, it pressures political allies, forcing statements, alignments, or risk marginalization. And fifth, it sets the stage for the narrative of victimhood, persecution, and resilience, a story he has told before and continues to tell with devastating consistency. Inside the political corridors of Washington, the response has been a mixture of alarm and calculation. Officials are modeling worst-case scenarios, reviewing precedents, and preparing contingency plans. Analysts are weighing the potential for unrest, civil disobedience, and constitutional crises. Legal scholars are dissecting each phrase, each implication, searching for leverage, loopholes, and consequences. The country is collectively holding its breath because the stakes are existential, the timeline immediate, and the potential fallout unpredictable. And yet Trump shows no sign of slowing. If anything, this is an escalation. He is deliberately testing boundaries, probing reactions, and constructing a narrative of invincibility. Every media cycle, every headline, every viral clip extends his reach, magnifies his influence, and reinforces the perception that he operates beyond accountability. In effect, he has transformed communication itself into a tool of power, weaponizing rhetoric to challenge structures that once constrained him. Pause for a moment and let it sink in. A former president unbound by office, redefining norms, challenging institutions, and shaping a political reality where every action, every response, every hesitation carries weight. America, at this moment, stands at a crossroads. The institutions meant to safeguard democracy are tested not by policy or elections, but by audacity, spectacle, and strategic audacity. And in this landscape, every decision, every statement, every reaction becomes a defining moment for the republic. The consequences are not theoretical. They are unfolding. Courts, Congress, state governments, and federal agencies now face unprecedented choices. Do they act, uphold the law, and risk confrontation? Or do they hesitate, allow momentum to build, and risk precedent? The clock is ticking, the audience is watching, and the stakes are monumental. And make no mistake, this is far from over. Trump's statement tonight is only the opening salvo. Advisors predict escalation, strategists anticipate further moves, and the public braces for impact. The narrative is now in his hands, shaped by audacity, amplified by media, and fueled by polarization. Every word from here forward is consequential, every action magnified, and every misstep potentially historic. And here's the most unnerving reality. The ripple effects of Trump's audacity are already visible. State governments are signaling caution. Governors convene emergency legal briefings, while legislative leaders debate not only strategy but the optics, knowing that every public statement can either stabilize or further inflame a volatile situation. Even the courts, long accustomed to deliberation and procedure, are suddenly thrust into the limelight, forced to consider questions that transcend law and enter the realm of existential governance. Meanwhile, the public response is electric, raw, and fractured. Social media platforms are ablaze, trending hashtags collide, opinion pieces erupt across digital outlets, and every cable network is locked into wall-to-wall coverage. Americans are not merely observers. They are participants in a theater of high stakes, with emotions running as high as the National Anxiety Index. Families debate at dinner tables, offices buzz with whispered speculation, and classrooms become informal arenas for political argument. The country itself feels as if it is holding its breath, teetering between outrage, fear, and morbid fascination. And yet, Trump thrives in this chaos. Every analysis, every critique, every condemnation functions as fuel. He has spent decades mastering this formula. Provoke, dominate, destabilize, then emerge as the arbiter of the narrative. Tonight, the rules are no longer just flexible, they are effectively rewritten. Advisors warn that even minor missteps by opponents could be leveraged into sweeping political victories. Every hesitation by rivals, every carefully measured response becomes a strategic advantage for him, reinforcing the perception that he is unassailable, unbound, and untouchable. This is not simply political theater. It is a performance with real-world consequences. Markets respond nervously to uncertainty. Investors hedge. Economists speculate on the long-term impact of governance destabilized by personal ambition. International allies watch anxiously, wondering if America's internal turbulence signals a retreat from traditional commitments, while adversaries measure opportunities to exploit perceived weaknesses. The ramifications extend far beyond Washington. They ripple through the economy, through diplomacy, and through the very fabric of global trust in American leadership. But perhaps the most chilling element is the psychological strategy. Trump has transformed uncertainty itself into an instrument of power. Every statement, every pause, every retweet is designed to create tension, ambiguity, and anticipation. The country is forced to react, adapt, and respond to his pace, his rhythm, his timing. There is no traditional framework here, no precedent to follow, only the escalating drama of one man shaping a political reality around himself, daring others to keep up or falter. Inside political circles, the reaction is a mix of disbelief, alarm, and strategy. Republicans are divided between loyalty, caution, and the calculus of political survival. Democrats are mobilizing, framing the moment as a critical test of democracy itself, using every platform, every forum, every medium to argue for accountability. Meanwhile, independent observers, journalists, and analysts dissect every nuance, every comma, every implication, knowing that this is history in real time and that the outcomes will resonate far beyond this news cycle. It is within this maelstrom that the stakes become personal. Federal officials report that their phones are flooded with messages, calls, and queries. Legal teams operate around the clock, balancing the weight of precedent with the immediate urgency of action. Every press conference, every briefing, every televised interview carries more than information. It carries influence, impact, and the possibility of escalation. And Trump knows it. Every move he makes is a calculated measure of pressure designed to test loyalty, probe boundaries, and ensure that his presence is felt everywhere simultaneously. And there is more. Sources indicate that Trump's inner circle, loyal yet cautious, are feeding him continuous reports on public sentiment, media coverage, and opposition strategy. He is acting not on instinct alone, but on a constant feedback loop, responding with the agility of a seasoned showman, the cunning of a strategist, and the bravado of someone who believes the rules do not apply. Every press release, every social media post, every rally, real or hypothetical, is leveraged to extend his reach and amplify his narrative. This is why tonight matters more than any single tweet or statement, because it reveals a strategy, a method, and a mindset. Trump is not merely responding to events, he is shaping events. He is setting terms, creating pressure points, and constructing a narrative in which he controls not only the story, but the very perception of reality. For the first time in decades, the political landscape is no longer merely reactive. It is a reflection of his design, his timing, his audacity. And the consequences are unfolding. Courts may be forced into emergency decisions. Congress faces the tension of partisan loyalty versus constitutional duty. State and federal agencies are balancing enforcement against potential unrest. Media outlets, once observers, now feel like participants in a high-stakes drama with unpredictable outcomes. And the American public, caught between incredulity and alarm, watches as institutions, norms, and expectations collide with one man's relentless ambition. Make no mistake, this is the most audacious challenge to governance in modern memory. It is a deliberate, calculated, and public display of power. It is a test of the country's resilience, a probe of institutional strength, and a rehearsal for influence that extends well beyond the political arena. And while the drama unfolds, Trump stands at the center, commanding attention, dictating conversation, and daring the nation to react with courage, caution, or hesitation. And so we watch, we listen, and we calculate. Because in this moment, every response matters. Every misstep matters. Every act of courage or hesitation will define the trajectory of a nation, a democracy, and a history still in the making. Trump's audacity tonight is more than spectacle. It is a test, a challenge, and a warning. And the question remains, will the country rise to meet it, Or will it bend under the weight of unchecked ambition? The next hours, days, and weeks will determine not just political outcomes, but the resilience of democratic institutions themselves. The tension is palpable, the stakes unprecedented, and the drama unavoidable. Every official, journalist, and citizen now holds a piece of the unfolding narrative, and every decision will echo far beyond the immediacy of the moment. And yet, through the noise, the spectacle, and the fury, one thing is undeniable. Trump has reminded America, the world, and history that audacity, when combined with platform and influence, can shape reality in ways few imagined. The nation watches, the institutions wait, the public reacts, and one man, relentless, untethered, and unapologetic, continues to redefine the limits of power, spectacle, and consequence.